and those of us that live on the golf course, we pretty much maintain what's right outside our property. When the plants are dead, we pick them up and throw them away. But my question is, you had made a comment, I believe, that you said that Dr. Lee would keep up the maintenance of the course, or he should. And of course, all of us know that he's not. The water features are all down. There's some dead turtles out there. You know, he's not keeping it up. And to the board, I'd like to say, why did we pay to have the fawns trimmed? How much did that cost us? We paid for the Mitch lights. We've been supporting this man who's a billionaire. I could use some help on my house payments. Maybe someone would like to help me out there. I just don't understand why we have been holding his hand this whole time. It's not the money. It's really not the money. There's people in here who could write a check for $300,000 and it wouldn't mean a thing to them. I'm just so against it. And I don't trust the board because of things that happened in the past. But definitely, I hope they do get the vote of the community because it's only fair. Like this gentleman up here said, it's our community. It's not just the boards. Thank you.
Yeah, to answer quickly, I know your community management has already sent notice out to the owner with respect to the conditions with the ponds that are out here and some other issues. So there is a process that I know that that started, I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure your HOA council will get a little bit more involved in that and providing notice and demand letters with respect to the upkeep of the maintenance of the course.
I'm on that one. My name is Victor Boris. I live on 10362 Prophet Court, and this is for our commissioner. I was wondering, I believe Angel Park is a golf course that is both public and is supported by the county. Is that correct?
I don't know. It's a city golf course.
Oh, the city. So how does that relation work between the city and a golf course?
I wish I could answer that, but the county is not involved. We only have the one golf course way on the east side of town. So I don't have any understanding of what they are doing with Angel Park. I would have to ask someone and get back to your board.
So back to this course that you do know about.
I can answer that. Because I have some of my clients own the community golf course and the one up on Ann Road, Painted Desert. And so they don't own, actually they own Painted Desert, but they manage the community golf course in the city. So like Angel Park is, the city owns the property itself. Through the BLM, they were given the land, and then the city puts out an RFP for someone to manage that golf course in that scenario. And I forgot who the golf course management is, but typically there's a management company that runs the course, pays the city a certain fee, which is the same thing on the municipal golf course on Washington, Decatur and Washington, down in that area.
So again, to the commissioner, there are many parks in Summerlin, beautiful. And my question is, are there funds that could be made available to a golf course in our situation, since it is a public golf course, and if tragically it closed, it could impact on property values for everyone living here in Siena. And consequently, if it did happen that the homes were reassessed downward, the county could lose $1.5 million in property value. So there, to my mind, there would be possibly something that a county commissioner might look at to join with us to help us in this quest.
I'd be happy to look into that, but that's probably not the feasibility that could happen. The county right now, if we want to build a park, we really have limited, when I say limited, I mean limited funding. Desert Breeze is not finished, Mountain's Edge is not finished. So it's very, very, very costly, but I'm not opposed to asking that question of the county. We always have emerging issues, in our board meetings, and I will do that.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to comment just on what the attorney said about the potential for this golf course as development occurs around us, that more people will play. I volunteer over at Arroyo, and the general manager told me that the marketing person, because I think we all know that Sienna, Arroyo, and Red Rock Golf Course are owned by Dr. Lee. The marketing person for the 55 and over development across the street on Town Center in Flamingo have already been approached, and I believe that in their sales brochure they're going to use to sell those homes, they've mentioned that our golf course is available and there could be a special deal for people who buy those homes. So it sounds to me more or less like that something's going on where he's not really interested necessarily in closing the course. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Hi, Nepper 5096 Pensier Street. During the night, there were a bunch of questions that you were not able to answer that you had to get more information on. I'd like to know when and how long it's going to take to get the information, and then you're going to have another meeting like this to give us answers and all those other questions.
Yeah, I actually have some of my colleagues taking down some of the questions that I mentioned that we're doing research on. I would look at, give me some time within a week to 2 weeks at most. I'd rather give you a longer time period and get it sooner. I'm open whenever anybody wants to meet. I do neighborhood meetings on a nightly basis 2 times a week, so if the board wants and you want more, another neighborhood meeting, and come back with those answers, and you'll have some additional questions, that's fine with me. Totally fine.
My name is Peter Cazzola, 4564 Versailles. A couple of things, points of interest in order, I think. This is the second meeting like this that I have attended. And quite frankly, I'm disappointed in the information shared.
Yes, so am I.
The one big one that just struck me was a gentleman stood up and said that the association could not use assessments to pay for anything. And the HOA attorney, he knows the HOA attorney told him that at that prior meeting that I was not at. I didn't hear a confirmation or a denial from the board regarding that comment. You should know that. You should know that. Here we are sitting here, we're talking about these fees, and we don't even know whether or not we could actually pay anything out of them. So I consider that a waste of my time. Secondly, somebody brought up regarding the number of residents that can be developed. I think I did mention at the last meeting that I read the CC&Rs, and you can, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I believe it's no more than 320 units. 325. Thank you. Why didn't you know that? Why doesn't somebody give us some of the facts that make a difference? Because then, in my opinion, it creates distrust. And I think we need to get together in doing something like this to make sure we have the facts, the communication, so that we all can make a very honest and fair judgment in terms of what needs to get done. The last thing is that in the course of the last couple of weeks, me and a few others have had the opportunity to talk to management. We're going to talk to them again tomorrow, and our discussions were very proactive, very encouraging, and all we get is all of the legal mumbo-jumbo. Attorneys do not make deals. Sorry, Bob.
It's your opinion, I respect it.
Businessmen make deals with the help of attorneys. But the deals go through communications and willingness to cooperate in partnership. And I mentioned at the last meeting again, regarding the CC&Rs, there was a theme throughout there that partnership was encouraged between the private entities and the association to help maintain and develop and take care of the properties and keep the values and the aesthetics of Siena as high as they can be. Now that mission up there says ensure Siena is the best overall value for the current and future residents. That's our overguiding principle as residents and as a board. So my question again to the board then is, can we have more facts and information before we get a whole group of us together again to decide whether or not we're going to go in one direction or the other? We don't have to make a decision, but we just need to know what we're doing here. And I don't feel comfortable with it.
Yes. This is Dave Silva at 4409 Colony Court. Well, my question goes along with what you just said, and that's why I'm cutting in, forgive me. I appreciate our two distinguished guests here tonight. I attended the last meeting, and quite frankly, what I'd like to do is direct to the board members. We heard very little from them at the last meeting. We've heard obviously zero from them tonight. I would like to hear from each of our board members some of their feelings regarding all of this information and all of these surveys, hundreds I heard, that have come in. I'd like to hear from you gentlemen on how you feel about what is going on and where we're going. And this elusive Dr. Lee, does he really exist? I mean, you know, when are you going to sit down and talk with this man? I understand you have to gain a lot of information before we do that. But I would like to hear from our board members.
Someone said something very important, which is we should avoid knee-jerk reactions. This board has been involved in a process of coming to understand what options we have and the pros and cons of each. We have tried to bring to the community our thinking along the way, the people who have answers to our questions, getting the sentiment of the community, getting the ideas of the community. I don't want to give you a knee-jerk reaction. We've heard from you in a wide variety of ways. We are discussing it with our attorney. We're discussing it with the commissioner. We are now about to enter a phase of laying out what those options are and the pros and cons of each. Without these meetings, we wouldn't be ready to do that. Everything that has happened so far has been necessary in the process of engaging the community and understanding what the realities are. I agree with you. We can't waste time. We need to start laying things out. But everything we've done so far has been leading us down this path. And I don't want anybody to think we're holding back any information. We have been very transparent in telling you everything that we can. Can I give you proof that I actually talked to Dr. Lee that owns the course? I can't. I ask myself that question all the time. How do I know I'm talking to the right guy? How can we put more pressure on him to put in paper what the deal is that he's giving us, or what we should put in paper, and give that deal back to him? So we're all working on this process. The board is not doing it in a vacuum, and the board is not doing it without the engagement of the community.
Hello, I'm Stuart Austin, 10287 Rio de Toul. And I think what you're sensing from us is a little bit of frustration. Everyone's, tense about what could potentially happen. We have a lot of money at stake. I know my wife and myself have invested a lot of money, not only in buying our property, but improving it. I think the idea of enhancing what we already have will only increase the value of the property that we own. So I hope that that's something that we really look at very hard, because I think that is really the right way to go. I think we're a better community with a golf course than without a golf course. I'm also highly, highly, highly against spending money for attorneys. It's just throwing money out the window. I'm sorry, Bob. I think you do a great job. But if we're gonna spend any money, we may as well, I'd rather give it to Dr. Lee than give it to an attorney. That's my. However, a couple of things that I've heard tonight is one thing is that it seems to be extremely unfeasible economically to develop what Dr. Lee is proposing to develop. The other thing that I've heard is the reason he even has an opportunity to do this is because of the way that the current zoning is for the golf course. And I guess this would be to Ms. Brager. Is there any way to change zoning so that it is no longer residential?
The overlying issue is that it is R2, R2. And that's very difficult because of nothing really was substantial in your CC&Rs, like you don't own the golf course. So changing it, it's not impossible, but it's difficult because it already.
I mean, this is difficult, right?
It is.
What we're dealing with now is difficult. So whether it's difficult to change zoning, isn't there a board, a zoning board that we would go in front of and that you may even be a part of? I don't know who is on the county zoning board, but don't they vote, in terms of how properties are zoned? I know in the past, anecdotally, that when someone wants something developed, they go in front of a board to have it changed. Why can't we have it changed to protect senior citizens?
Well, here's what happens is there's landowners. A perfect example, and I hate to even bring it up, is Gypsum Ridge, the Red Rock issue. It's not in Red Rock. There's a landowner. So you negotiate the least negative effect on the surrounding area and what someone can do. But the state lost in court when they tried to prohibit that landowner to build. So you have to tread very carefully, because if you lose in court, it takes away the county's ability or possibly Howard Hughes' ability to negotiate. So you want to avoid that. And it's not that it can't be changed, but you want to find out the real facts of what your board is getting for you on what does Mr. Lee really want, what makes a difference, does the $300,000 stop the building process? Is the buildings the best way to go, if that's the best way to go? So we can't just arbitrarily change zoning when someone owns it. Now when land was going to be sold by the BLM, and it was in an area called an RNP, Rural Neighborhood Preservation Area, I sent a message out to every developer and said, if you buy in there, you are going to build one house per half acre. Don't buy it if you think you're going to do more than that, because I legally could do that. In this scenario, there's many legal things that can be done. I know we all keep saying I only have X amount of time. I'm not leaving. I'm happy to carry messages to a new person or to see where they're at or ask those hard questions. So you're not alone in this. You have a lot of people that are working with you and for you.
It's been a long evening.
Do I get to speak?
One more.
Yes!
It's 8 o'clock.
And we're all tired. We are seniors, and it's time to go to bed. And actually, I heard it just a minute ago, I think, from Steve, and thank you.
Your question, please.
Well, it's a comment, and I have a couple. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to express it. Commissioner Brager and Attorney Bob and board members, thank you. I'm Bob Brandt, 5315 Chihuahua Court. We all have a lot at stake in our community. And the golf course is an integral part of it. I don't think anyone would deny that. In the negotiations, it's been my experience that you try to evaluate the other side. Dr. Lee, apparently a very wealthy individual with net worth between $1 and $3 billion.
4 billion.
I just heard 4. Who'll give me 5? Okay, so we're dealing with an individual who's known to have lots of real estate holdings, and he's not known to be a great landlord. In fact, in Siena, he has abandoned his golf course out of bounds. The only thing he maintains is his fairways, his greens, and his tees. Everything else has been abandoned and left for us, the homeowners, to maintain his property. Why would he pay it if we'll pay it. Now, his other golf courses, we should also review their financial statement. Let's say he needs a tractor at Red Rock, Arroyo, and he buys it and bills it to Sienna. So the $40,000 tractor shows up as a loss here, but it goes to the other facility. I believe that we have deed restrictions and that our community, the streets are entirely private. We are entirely encapsulated. From town center into the golf course is our street. We maintain the street. This is the only thing that is protecting us from development today. Land development, building storm runoff is just part of building. It is expensive, but at $70 million for this property to develop, it's a no-brainer. Unlike Steve, who said he'd rather give them the $300,000, I'd say no. This is just kicking the can down the road. My question is, thank you, Tim. Last week on Wednesday's night meeting, a gentleman got up, he just closed escrow on his home a week ago, and he said, if I'd have known this, I would not have purchased. As I walked in tonight, I met a new homeowner here, and she's been here 2 days. The fear and fright that this individual has brought upon this community is elder abuse. It is. Open your checkbook, and I may keep the golf course open, but when I sell this golf course, you'll have to rework with somebody else. So, protect us from this abusive individual. And the question would be to Commissioner Brager, a real estate broker, and the attorney. What disclosures are we making in our CIC package to future homeowners? We have obviously a protracted, expensive litigation or $300,000 a year in assessments. So what are we doing as a homeowners association? Susan Brager, what would you suggest? And Attorney Bob, what would you suggest? We disclose to homeowners who have not yet closed. Thank you.
And you've been in the industry a long, you've been in the industry a long time. I know that. 82? No, oh, I'm at 89, so that's even longer. When we have those in the listing agreements and then the MLS where it says litigation, agents should be putting, you know, if they put unknown, that's not good in the agent data remarks. It would be due diligence to really state what's happening at this point in time.
I agree. However,
We know how all the agents are.
I can't spread rumors.
No, you
We
can.
have nothing in writing, and yet the homeowners association has been negotiating with Dr. Lee since last year, when Arn published in the Sienna Style, followed by Paul Medill the following month, and Bob Zalewski the following month, that this community is subject to being developed.
You know, on that 4-page SRPD, Seller's Real Property Disclosure Statement, there is some docket statements in there that talks about litigation. That's when all of you have a due diligence to do that for that buyer.
I understand that.
Okay, but that's the best that I can do now.
That's from the seller. But yet the CIC
It's been a long evening. Thank you all for coming. It's been a good evening. We've learned a lot. Thank you.